438 days alone. The greatest survival story ever told. Chapter 1. The biggest ocean on Earth. The Pacific Ocean does not care about you. It covers more of this planet than all the land combined. Over 60 million square miles of water. The deepest point on Earth is here. A trench so black, we have mapped more of Mars than its floor. If you were to fall off a ship in the middle of the Pacific, nobody would find you. The search area would be too large. The ocean would swallow every trace. But in November of 2012, one man did not fall off a ship. He drifted. Chapter 2. A routine fishing trip. José Salvador Alvarenga was a fisherman. The kind who spends 30 hours at sea hauling sharks and marlin into a 7-meter fiberglass boat with no cabin and no shelter. He had done this for years. The ocean was his office. On November 17, 2012, Alvarenga left Costa Azul, Mexico. His usual crewmate was unavailable, so he brought a young man named Ezequiel Córdoba, 22 years old, a good soccer player from the far end of the lagoon. They had never worked together. They had barely spoken. The plan was simple. 2 days at sea, catch as much as the boat could hold, come home. They loaded gasoline, water, bait, hooks, knives, and a two-way radio with a battery at half charge. The boat had no anchor. Alvarenga noticed. He did not think it mattered on a deep-sea trip. Storm warnings had been issued. They left anyway. Chapter 3. The storm. 2 days later, the weather turned. It did not start with a warning. The sky changed color, and the waves began building in ways that experienced sailors learned to fear. The waves reached them like walls, 4 meters, then 6. The tiny boat climbed each one at an angle that made the hull groan, then crashed down the other side. Every impact sent a shock through your spine. Córdoba bailed water. Then he vomited. Then he cried, holding the rail, screaming they were going to die. Alvarenga gripped the tiller. He knew you align the boat with the waves. You do not panic. You endure. Then the engine coughed again, and died. The boat stopped being a vessel and became a piece of debris. No engine, no sail, no direction except wherever the current decided to take them. Chapter 4. Nobody is coming. Alvarenga grabbed the radio. Willie, the motor is ruined. His boss answered from shore. Calm down. Give me your coordinates. We have no GPS. Lay an anchor. We have no anchor. There was a pause, the kind that says more than words. Then, okay, we are coming to get you. Those were the last words Alvarenga heard from land. The radio battery died before midday. They dumped everything. 500 kilograms of fresh fish, their entire payday. The gasoline, the ice, everything that was not essential to surviving one more hour. A search party went out. For 2 days, boats scanned the waters off Costa Azul, but the storm had already pushed them far beyond the search zone. After 48 hours, the search was called off. Nobody was coming. That is a sentence you can read and move past. But imagine feeling it, knowing with absolute certainty that no boat will appear on the horizon. No helicopter, just water in every direction, and the current pulling them further into the open Pacific. Chapter 5. The Rules of Survival. The human body can survive about 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Alvarenga and Córdoba had neither, but Alvarenga adapted. When rain came, he collected it, cupped hands, plastic bottles, puddles on the fiberglass deck. When it did not rain for weeks, he drank turtle blood, slicing the animals open and drinking straight from the wound. The taste never stopped being revolting. He drank it anyway. He caught fish with his bare hands. He grabbed seabirds when they landed. He ate turtles raw. The meat, the organs, the blood. He ate jellyfish. He ate his own fingernails. Córdoba could not do it. The raw flesh made him sick. He refused turtle blood. You could see it in his face, not just the hollowing of his cheeks, but the hollowing of something behind his eyes. Hope was leaving his body before his body left him. The ocean had become a supermarket and a graveyard at the same time. One man learned to shop. The other starved. And somewhere in those weeks, the realization settled in, rescue might never come. This might be the rest of their lives. Chapter 6. When the mind begins to break. After weeks without rescue, something changes. The real enemy is not hunger or thirst. Those become background noise, a constant hum you learn to live beside. The real enemy is the horizon. The same horizon every single day. 360 degrees of water that never changes, never offers anything but more of itself. That is when the mind starts filling the silence. Alvarenga began to see his mother, not as a memory, as a presence. She sat on the bow of the boat, legs crossed, watching him with the expression she used to have when he came home late as a boy. He spoke to her, full conversations. He asked her what she was cooking for dinner. She never answered, but that did not stop him from asking. Sometimes it was not his mother. Sometimes it was women he had known in his youth, sitting beside him in the boat, their dresses impossibly dry. Sometimes he heard music, songs from the radio stations of his childhood, playing clearly across the water. Sometimes he heard voices whispering from beneath the hull, calling his name, telling him to slide into the water where it would finally be cool and quiet and still. He did not know which hallucinations were his mind breaking and which were his mind trying to save him. Maybe they were the same thing. Córdoba's decline was different. He stopped speaking. Then he stopped moving much at all. He would sit at the far end of the boat, staring at nothing, his body present, but his mind already somewhere else. And then he began to lose hope entirely. Chapter 7. The Loss of a Companion. Ezequiel Córdoba died sometime in the 4th month. He had stopped eating weeks earlier. Alvarenga offered him chunks of bird meat, pieces of turtle. Córdoba clenched his mouth and turned away. He was not refusing food. He was refusing the entire situation. Depression had convinced him death was the only way off this boat. Alvarenga was alone on a 7-meter boat, with the body of the only person who understood what he was going through. He kept the corpse beside him for 6 days. He spoke to it, telling Córdoba about the food he had caught, asking him what they should do next, apologizing, bargaining with a body that could no longer hear him. On the 6th day, he knew he was crossing a line he could not come back from. He rolled his companion's body over the side. The Pacific swallowed it in seconds. No splash, no ceremony, just the quiet efficiency of an ocean that has claimed millions before and will claim millions after. For the first time in 4 months, there was no other human being left on Earth who knew where he was. Now it was just him, one man. And most of his ordeal still lay ahead. Chapter 8. Alone for months. And now we arrive at the hardest part of the story to tell. Not because anything dramatic happens, because nothing does. After enough days, sunrise stopped feeling like a new beginning. It became proof that he had survived another night only to face the same empty horizon again. The sun burned his skin until it cracked. Salt spray kept the wounds open. His lips split so deeply he tasted blood with every movement of his mouth. Sleep came in 10-minute bursts on a boat too small to stretch out on. He counted the moon cycles, 15 of them. Moonrise, full moon, fade to black, again and again. And then a container ship, massive, crossing the Pacific on its trade route, carrying cargo worth millions, crewed by men eating hot meals in climate-controlled cabins. Alvarenga waved. He screamed until his throat was raw. He jumped on the deck. The ship did not slow, did not turn, did not see him. A 7-meter boat on the Pacific Ocean is invisible. The men on that ship were probably checking their phones. They had no idea they had just sailed past the greatest survival story on Earth. The missed rescue crushed something in him that food and water could not repair. Chapter 9. By the time José Salvador Alvarenga saw land, he had been drifting for 438 days, 14 months, more than 10,500 hours, more than 630,000 minutes, more than 500,000 chances to give up. He took none of them. The average person spends about 90 minutes commuting every day. Alvarenga spent 438 days commuting towards nowhere. Chapter 10. The edge of survival. His body was failing. Ankles swollen to twice their size. Wrists so thin you could circle them with a thumb and forefinger. He could barely stand. Anemic from raw meat. Parasites likely infecting his liver. But the water was changing. From deep ocean blue to something greener, shallower. Seabirds appeared in numbers he had not seen in a year. Clouds on the horizon sat stationary, resting on something solid. A man who has drifted for 14 months learns to read the ocean like a language. Alvarenga read these signs. Land was near. Chapter 11. Land, January 30th, 2014. After counting his 15th lunar cycle, Alvarenga saw an island. Tile Islet, Ebon Atoll, Marshall Islands, 6,700 miles from where he started. He abandoned the boat that had been his entire world for more than a year and swam. He crawled onto the sand on his hands and knees, naked, clutching a knife, unable to stand, hair matted, skin burned and cracked and covered in salt. He had not spoken to another human being in 14 months. 2 locals found him, Emi Libogmeto and Russell Laikidrick. He was shouting in Spanish. They had no idea what he was saying, but they knew what they were looking at. A man who should have been dead. Chapter 12. First human contact. They took him in. Gave him food, real food, cooked food, the kind that does not taste like salt and blood. Within days, Alvarenga was in a hospital in Majuro. Doctors examined him and found something that should not have been possible. His vital signs were intact. His heart was strong. He was alive in ways that defied every medical expectation. The news went global. A fisherman from El Salvador, missing for 14 months, had washed ashore on the other side of the Pacific. The story was so implausible, investigators had to verify every detail. But the boat was the same boat. The facts checked out. No human being in recorded history had ever done this. Chapter 13, Homecoming. On February 10, 2014, Alvarenga flew home to El Salvador. His parents had not seen him in 8 years. 8 years before he disappeared, and then 14 months of believing he was dead. They had prayed every single day, first for his return, then for his soul, then simply for the strength to accept they would never know what happened to their son. And then he walked through the door. His daughter, now grown, now a woman he barely recognized, had rehearsed a single sentence 1,000 times. "The first thing I will do is hug him and kiss him." And that is exactly what she did. But the hardest conversation was still ahead. Alvarenga visited Córdoba's mother. He sat across from a woman who had sent her 22-year-old son on a fishing trip and never got him back. He told her everything: how her son had fought, how he had tried to keep him alive, how he had not eaten him because accusations had started swirling, because the world always looks for the ugliest version of a miracle. The truth was simpler and harder. Córdoba had lost hope. The ocean had not killed him. Despair had. Chapter 14, Legacy. The Pacific Ocean is still there. It still covers more of this planet than all the land combined. It still swallows boats and secrets and men without leaving a trace. But somewhere on its surface, a 7-meter fiberglass boat drifted for 438 days with one man aboard who refused to stop counting the moon cycles. The ocean tested every limit of the human body and mind, and one man somehow endured. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the ocean is still writing stories like this. This one just happened to have a survivor. Think about it. Could you have survived this ordeal? Let me know in the comments. And if this story stayed with you, like, share, and subscribe to Blue Water Arc for more such maritime stories, facts, and revelations from beyond the horizon.